the Bengaluru Civic polls, many will say, wow, at last, it's been almost a decade. But then, have the women been shortchanged? Is 50% reservation for women in Bengaluru civic bodies still a distant dream? Well, that question is back in focus after the Urban Development Department released the final ward reservation list for the Greater Bengaluru Authority or GBA, covering all the 5 city corporations. While this announcement moves Bengaluru closer to long pending civic polls, like I said, a lot of people must be heaving a sigh of relief. It has also triggered a fresh debate over women's representation. Here's why. A total of 369 wards have been notified across the 5 corporations. Out of these, 176 wards have been reserved for women candidates. But then, that number still falls short of the 50% mark many groups have been demanding. If the reservation had reached the halfway mark, at least 185 wards would have needed to be reserved for women. That means the final list is short by 9 wards. This issue had already come up during the draft stage of the reservation list. Several stakeholders had submitted objections and suggestions calling for a full 50% quota for women in the civic body. However, the final notification continues to keep the number at 176. The reservation breakup has now been announced across all 5 municipal corporations under the GBA framework, but none of the 5 Bengaluru city corporations reach 50% reservation for women. So, while the list clears the path for the civic elections, which is great news, the larger question remains: why is 50% representation for women still out of reach? Why is it a distant dream? Let me welcome Satya Prakash ji, Vice Chairperson and Spokesperson for the KPCC, and Surabhi Hodigire, Spokesperson for the BJP in Karnataka. Namaskara, a very, very warm welcome to both of you. Surabhi, let me ask you, why is this a distant dream? I mean, we've just gotten off celebrating International Women's Day. I don't believe in it, but then we did. We celebrated women for their achievements, etc., etc. But what is this? I mean, if you remember, for the past decade, no elections, women were really tired. They said, if we become, stakeholders in managing the civic body, then perhaps Bengaluru will do much better. What do you think is the reason that the 50% for women reservation mark has not been filled?
Sudha ma'am, I'm assuming that question was for me because I couldn't hear you in entirety.
Yes, Surabhi, indeed. Please take
thank you for highlighting this very important issue. I think when it comes to women's representation in politics, we've achieved significant milestones, especially with the 33% in state legislature and parliament. But the reality of the situation is that we have a long way to go in ensuring that representation is not just in word, but it's also in spirit. When it comes to in Karnataka and when it comes to Bengaluru, first and foremost, as you rightly pointed out, we've not had an election for close to 11 years now, and that's really frustrated many citizens. And finally, when there's word of election, it's being delayed as well. We were supposed to see this reservation notification on 20th. We're seeing it now on March 9th. Having said all of that, one day after Women's Day, this problem is actually coded right into the law. The act in itself and the prior acts as well say that 50% across different categories. So what happens is that because there is an odd number in particular wards that are reserved for SC, ST, OBC and the general category, when you half that, that's when the reservation number starts getting reduced. So it's not a total reservation of 50% for the entire corporations, but a 50% in each category across different corporations. So some way, that's how we end up shortchanged. I think the first thing that we as women, especially those in public life, need to do is make sure that we read all of these acts and we read the concerned things and
so when in January it was delayed already. In January, the women had flagged it and they had an inkling of this may happen. I'm not saying that one has to throw the rules to the, away, but then they had said, please, because it's mandated. And I'll come back to you. Satya ji, I want to ask you, because Karnataka amended the Karnataka Municipal Corporation Act 1976 in 2012 to provide for 50% reservation for women in urban local bodies. This was a Supreme Court judgment, and that the state should ensure full representation for women in municipal governance. So when this happens, and Surabhi explained it very well, and which I've been reading, that in some wards, the odd numbers, ST quota, etc., but the women had said, you should have handled it before. Satya Prakash ji, don't you think this is rather unfortunate and disappointing?
No. Please understand. Please understand the rules of the 74th and 75th Amendment.
Right.
When they gave 50%, just because we give 50% to women doesn't mean out of the total seats they get 50%. Right now, what has happened is GB as a as an authority has become five municipal corporations. So when you go into each municipal corporation, let me take the example of GBA North. Okay, GBA North, there are 72 seats. SC has 9. When there are 9 seats, how we calculate the reservation for women is 9 divided by 2, that is 50%. It comes to how much? 4.5. The rule says if it is 4.5, you have to come, the number of seats given to women are 4. If it crosses 4.5, it has to be taken to the next one, 5. So similarly, what happens in ST, there are 2 seats, so we have given 1 for women. In A, there are 19 seats. 19 divided by 2 is how much? 9.5. So again, women lose around 0.5 there. Like that, when it comes to general, 37 seats, half of that is 18. So like that, in each corporation, even if they lose 2.5 seats, 2 seats also, out of 5 corporations, on a nutshell, they have lost some 8 to 9 seats.
Oh, the
But let
reduction.
them know that when the next election comes, there is a rotation system which is in place. For example, if there was 1 seat in ST and we gave to general men in this election, next election, if it comes to general, that 1 seat in ST has to go to women. So according to the rotation period, over a period of 20-25 years, there will be some years where women will get more than 50%
Sure,
also.
but then
Second point is,
the thing is
women can
that
contest in
I
even
know there
general.
are reductions across board, Satyaji. I did not say this has been done like, randomly. There is similar reductions across boards, across categories. The problem is that this first municipal governance body will have fewer women. And here
But
we are.
will not have fewer women.
How?
See, women can contest in general seats also. There is every possibility that there will be many women who will contest in the general seats also and win. So there is no hard and fast rule that this body in GPA will have lesser women. For example, if 10 or 15 women contest in general category, for example, a SC woman can contest in SC male ward also. A general woman can contest in general male ward
Right,
also.
right, right. A
So
very good point you
there
bring
is no
up,
hard
but
and fast rule.
very good point. Satya says, why not you contest, in general also? I will. But Surabhi, all along, these women, I'm talking about governance in civic bodies, they were very scared, of proxies, about nepotism. These are, let's all understand. You and I may be empowered, but not everyone has that privilege. They wanted to do what they thought was good, their thing. With this, because this rule happens, and also I don't know, a lot of women that I have spoken to, they said, ma'am, you're absolutely right. It is not done in a random fashion, but this system has reduced our numbers, right? And on top of that, it is going to bring back, even if I suppose Satya says, Sudha, you fight in general. The point of the matter is that the whole nepotism, my husband, my brother, they will all come to it. Surabhi, your comment on this?
Ma'am, I'll speak first as a woman today. The truth is that as much as we want to deny it, the voices of women who do not come from particular backgrounds is always shut down. And it was a very interesting point that Mr. Satyaprakash mentioned, which is that when it's 4.5, it's rounded to 4. It's always rounded down. It's now never rounded up. This is reservation across the system, across parties. Reservation is given, as a because it's mandated only, not because true women representation needs to happen, and that's something systemically that we are fighting. And I'm very proud that my party has pushed the reservation at legislature and parliament level, which will carry forth across the nation. But having said that, it is a known thing that across the city, it's very difficult for reservation to have its true output. And today, when small differences in wording in the law and the rules mean that the number of seats is rounded down and not rounded up. In that itself, we can understand the intent and the difference in intent and difference in execution, which is why I say that while we have gotten till here, where the change and the difference is in word, we need to work a lot more, and perhaps for another generation, for it to actually be visible on ground and in spirit. It will take its time. We have won the first few steps, but a few other more are to go. And while I'm here as a woman representative of the BJP speaking, I know that across parties, women across parties will agree that we have a lot more to do for true representation of women in politics to become a reality.
No, Satya, the city is expanding, and there is no doubt that it's one of the most favored cities in the south. People want to come and work there, live there. Women particularly find it very safe. I mean, I've been reading reports about, it's a fact. I mean, Bengaluru may have 100 problems, but the fact of Bengaluru has to be highlighted. Now, all I'm saying is that if it is mandated, imagine you're a woman, you have to be a woman, you have to be an aspirant, and what is mandated, after Supreme Court judgment, these structural things are making things very difficult for women. They need hope. I was talking to Katyayani Chamaraj, I am sure all of you people from Bengaluru know. They've been saying, and she said, no, I'm not fighting. But the thing is that stakeholders as women, it's very, very important. And also, not all women are, like Surabhi said, have the wherewithal really. With lot of difficulty, they must have mustered. And the structural things has said, yeah, you can fight in general also, but the fact of the matter is that the seats have been reduced. Earlier, please correct me if I am wrong, in BBMP 106, was it? 106.
198 seats earlier.
Yeah.
And since it was one corporation, see the difference you have to understand what has happened, I will tell you within that nutshell.
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier the whole corporation was 198. So giving 50% there was easy. Now there are 5 corporations. Then there are categories like general, SC, ST, A and B. With the 5 categories, in 5 corporations, 5 5s are 25. In 25 line items, if you miss 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, this is the problem. This is not made by Congress party or not made by Satya Prakash. This is a calculation rule which is laid down. Now what we can do is, you can bring in laws like Mr. Surabhi is saying, why don't you go on the higher side? If you go on the higher side, there is all possibility, instead of getting 50%, you will get 57%. So we need to bring some, sanity to this and make something wherein what we can do is, suppose if there are 25 line items, reduce those line items. Suppose there are 12 decimals. Make 6 so that instead of 9, we would have accommodated 6 more women. And for that, some laws have to change. Satya Prakash or Congress party or the GBA commissioner can't do anything.
I hear you, but what a disappointment it is for the women. Surabhi, would you agree? Surabhi, come in, Surabhi.
No, but I think you are the party in power, so you must take responsibility over here. 57% is not okay. Sure, I understand there are certain rules and recommendations, but 47% we should be okay with. You reducing it something we should be okay with, but you increasing it is absolutely unthinkable. And the point here is that you always knew it was going to be 5 corporations. So why not split it in a particular way where there was at least 50%, reaching 50% in every corporation? It could have been done. But the problem here is that it was never a priority. It's never embedded in the thought process. The way reservation is done is to ensure that, there's negotiations across what benefits your party. That is, as a government in power, that is the priority. It is not about actual representation, true representation. You are saying, oh, it would have crossed 50%, that would have been a big problem. We are saying that it has reduced from 50% to 47%, and that is a problem.
Yeah, I'm telling you the reason, and you're not understanding the problem.
Sir, I have understood the problem.
Even I have. It's not that we've not.
See,
go ahead.
Please understand. The calculation rule is not made by the government of the day. It's not made by Satya Prakash. It is made by
the GBA Act was promulgated by the Congress government.
Which is true.
It is hard-coded in the GBA Act.
It's not only in GBA, even when it comes to local bodies of other bodies also, similarly it will happen. Please understand. But the problem what problem you're facing in GBA is 5 corporations. You have to treat each corporation as a corporation. And so then when you see,
how is it as a woman, how is it my problem that you decided
Ravi, that how is it my problem? I have waited for 11 years and now I find that because of some structural problems, I may have to sit out.
Tomorrow, when the rooster system changes, rotation system changes, you will be benefited. So sometimes you will get 47, sometimes you will get 53.
Well, the wait is very long. I wonder if we have the time to wait. Thank you
Well,
very
we
much.
will never get 53. We will always be at the short end of the stick.
All
Sorry,
right.
Sudha ma'am. Unfortunately, there will never be a situation where, more than what.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking the same, but I have to wrap
Change the
this.
laws and give 50% due to the women. I am not against women. Take your 50%. I am not against
Sir,
women.
I'm
right.
just saying that the
Necessary
priorities
changes.
are not to
Don't make
ensure.
the
No
government
charity, we deserve it.